Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is my great co-host, Keith. Keith, how are you doing today?
I'm not too bad, Fernando. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I got my own microphone doesn't want to work anymore, but I got my headset still.
Oh, okay. That'll do.
It'll do. But it is playoffs. It's playoff time, and unfortunately, the Patriots are not in the playoffs. But your Seahawks got a miracle and are in the playoffs. What's
We got a miracle. I mean, the Lions did us a job. I hope everybody went out to Dan Campbell there from the Seahawks and gave him a big thank you. But I mean, we took care of business, but it was a struggle over the Rams. Got there in OT. But yeah, then it was all up to the Lions, who knew they had nothing to play for, but they still went out and did the job. So yeah, happy that the Seahawks. Very surprised as well that they're in the playoffs. But yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend now for me.
Yeah, and of course, not only do we have that, but we also have the Dolphins who ended up making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and who are they going to be playing this week? Skylar Thompson as quarterback. So they've made
Skylar
it.
Thompson.
They've made it, but yeah, I don't know how much further they're going. But I think they'd have a good chance if Tua was still out there and give the Bills a game. But it's yeah, I think this is a bit of a sticky one for the Dolphins this week.
Does Tua say the Dolphins somehow beat the Bills? Highly doubt it. But say they do. Does Tua ever come back in the playoffs? Like, does he even come out of the onto the field?
I think we spoke about before. I think the right thing is to do is that he's done for the season with all this, the concussions that he's had. You got to take football out of the equation here. You got to look at this. He's only a young dude. You got to look at his health going forward. So I don't think he should. I don't think he should be playing in the playoffs. Like we said, I don't think he will be purely because the Dolphins won't go much further. But if they somehow get a miracle and do win, yeah, no, they shouldn't be playing him. I'm sure Teddy's finger will be better. They'll just play Bridgewater after that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, in my opinion, if you're not planning on starting Tua at all, like if he's not in the game plan for the playoffs, why even try to make playoffs?
Yeah, I know. I suppose
We could be seeing the Steelers right now in the playoffs.
The Steelers. Well, Mike Tomlin's a lot of fun, man. That guy is one of the best coaches in the league. What he's doing there and has done there is crazy. But yeah, I know. But I suppose it's it's good for them to make the playoffs. Big boost. I suppose it gives another quarterback, a guy we don't know a whole lot about. Skylar Thompson's a guy to show off and see what he can do. Maybe somebody picks him up if he plays really well.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll be having our fantasy playoff draft at the end of the show, and who knows? I mean, Keith, by all means, you can pick him if you'd like.
Skylar Thompson, 101, let's go.
Exactly. Now, let's go with some more quarterback news. Lamar Jackson, he's basically most likely out, 99% out this weekend. So, again, Ravens and Dolphins are without their starters. That means the Bengals and Bills realistically have a cakewalk this week.
Realistically, I think the Bills definitely have a cakewalk. The Bengals obviously played the Ravens last week, and I was expecting the way the game started. I was expecting the Bengals to put up way more points than they did. They kind of went a bit flat in that second half, and they kind of allowed the Ravens back into it. And that was against their seconds and thirds. I still think the Ravens will, they'll make it a better game than say what the Dolphins will, I think. But I still expect the Bengals win. I just think it might be a little bit closer than people think. There might be 7 to 10 points maybe max in it, I think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. These teams know each other too well. They're division rivals, only played last week. Harbaugh rested a lot of his starters. So, they're keeping them from this week. They're trying to give themselves the best possible chance of beating the Bengals. But I still think the Bengals will have too much room.
No, I completely agree with you. But the thing is if Tyler Huntley doesn't play, then I think this is an easy blowout in my opinion, because I don't. I don't see anything happening if Tyler Huntley doesn't.
I expect Huntley to be out there though. I do, but I do agree. I think the guy I forget his first name. I think it's Brown was the quarterback last week for the Ravens. I mean, Kay kind of got it together in the second half, but it was more kind of the run game that did it. But that first half, he was it was like when we talked about Sam Darnold, with the Jets, he was seeing ghosts all the time. He was just, Jesse Bates was his best friend. He just kept throwing the ball that way. So, I mean, if he's playing, well, then yeah, the Bengals have a great chance to blow them out. But who knows? I think that I still think it'll be a bit closer, but the Bengals win.
Yeah, and of course it was Anthony Brown, who's 24 years old.
Brown, there we go. I knew it was Brown.
He threw 44 times, only completed 19 of those passes, and he threw for 286 yards, which isn't bad. If you played him in your fantasy championship week 18, if you end up having a week 18 championship, you might have got points. You definitely got more points than Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. But of course, going back to that game, I mean, Keith and I, of course, we didn't have that show that week, and we're glad that Damar Hamlin's okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, great news. He obviously, got released at Cincy, and then he's been released from Buffalo since. So it's great news, and hopefully makes a full recovery, and and his life can get back to normal at some stage.
I feel like it would just be chill. I think I'm quoting a tweet from Peter Schrager, but he mentioned, like, what if Damar Hamlin led the Bills out of the tunnel this weekend? I mean, I feel like that would be just chills going down everyone.
Yeah, the Dolphins might as well just go back into the locker room and just like go home. I mean, there's even more, momentum with the Bills now. They're going to definitely be playing for him. But if he's leading them out of, like, it doesn't even have to be this game, because like we said, we expect them to beat the Dolphins fairly easy. But I mean, even if it's the next game, even if they get the Bengals and they're leading, Damar Hamlin's there, it's the game that happened in previously that got stopped and all that. I mean, it'd be crazy, chills everywhere for both sets of teams, both sets of fans.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that'd be just crazy. It'd be crazy in a good way, as in like the miraculous recovery and how he's able to do that. So
what's the odds he somehow, what's the odds he just say they make it to the Super Bowl? What's the odds he actually suits up for that game?
He's not soon though. I think is he on IR anyways? He's done.
I think he's done anyways.
I mean,
imagine he did that.
Oh, I know. And his professional career is probably in the balance right now. I mean, he's got to look after himself first and see what happens. But yeah, that'd be like nuts. I mean, I know the Bills did they restructured his contract because he didn't get any of his guaranteed money or something like that if he was on IR. So they restructured it so that he got all his money, which was really good of the Bills.
Yeah, that's really nice of them.
Yeah, it was really good. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be watching the game. We may see him at some stage. Maybe he's in Buffalo somewhere watching the game.
Which
would be good to see.
Maybe we see Buffalo go all the way and win it all.
I mean, they were the favorite at the start. I still think they're defensively not as solid as a lot of teams that have made the playoffs. But they have that drive, they have that will to win, and now they have they're doing it for number 3. Damar Hamlin there as well, so that will definitely be driving them.
No, yeah, 100%, completely agree. Well, it'll be interesting to see what we see from the Bills this playoffs. But a couple of other news and notes I want to do before we get into our actual playoff predictions.
Yep.
Derek Carr, he's going to be on the move.
He said bye to the Raiders. This is interesting. It came out. I think his agent says that's it. It's kind of done for him. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. I kind of think he might go to the Jets, but I don't know what you think, Fernando.
I would have said either the Jets. I mean, I could also see Tennessee. I think Tennessee would be an interesting one. I really don't see. I don't see them really trading someone trading for Derek Carr, because the Raiders announced that I think by February certain date, 25th maybe. Don't quote me on that, but I think if they don't reach a deal by then, they're going to cut him, because they don't want to give more money to him after the March 1st new season starts. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. So realistically, you might as well wait.
That's it, wait, and then and he's going to have lots of options, I think, anyways. But I think the Jets to me make sense. I mean, they're a team. The rebuild I think is almost over. They didn't miss playoffs by a whole lot. They're probably a quarterback away. That defense is pretty good. It's one of the better ones. I think they've got a good run game. They're going to get Breece Hall, obviously. Went down injured halfway through the season, but they'll get him back. got some good receivers, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Conklin at tight end. So they're kind of just a quarterback away from being a very good team. So I think, to me, that just makes the most sense.
No, that's exactly what I would have agreed with you on. The Jets, and of course, as I mentioned, the Titans. I mean, they're both really a quarterback away from making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, definitely. Titans are a funny one. They need to. I mean, that division is just kind of not the best. The Jags win it, but the Jags, I have to say, the Jags are pretty good. But the Titans, I think, need to change their game plan a bit. They rely too much on Derrick Henry. That's the problem. There's not a whole lot of, you need to put a bit more responsibility on Robert Woods. And, I know Treylon Burks is only like a rookie coming out, but there needs to be kind of more honest on the wide receivers in that team, because I know everybody you kind of stack the box. Derrick Henry comes and he's just massive and he blows you away. But I think that's the problem. They're kind of too predictable. So, I mean, if they're going to go out and get a Derek Carr, a new quarterback, you have to be saying, look, we're going to throw the ball a hell of a lot more than we do. So,
well, not to mention, I mean, Derrick Henry, his age is going up there, so it's going to come to a point we can't rely on him.
Exactly, that's it. But the only thing is, we've probably been saying that about Derrick Henry for the last 5 years in fantasy, anyways. Where we're going, do you really take him in the top 5 or 10? And someone always ends up doing it, and he always performs. So, I mean, I've kind of stopped saying that about Derrick Henry, because he could be the next, Adrian Peterson, where he could play, further on in his age and still be just as good. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and of course, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm intrigued to see if Henry is going to still be productive next season. I mean, we've seen Zeke; he's fallen off the cliff this year. Does Saquon Barkley fall off the cliff next year? I mean, a lot of these big name players that we're used to drafting really early, it's starting to come towards the end of their fantasy career.
Yeah, I think Barkley's interesting. I think he definitely, in my book anyways, he'd revived himself for fantasy. He'd be back up there, possibly top 10. I mean, he had a great season. He stayed healthy for once. I think, I don't think anybody questioned the talent. There was more question his health. The Giants seem like they're going places. You know what I mean? Better season this year. I think this is the best we've seen out of Daniel Jones as well, which is good for him. They declined his 5th year, so it's kind of probably more money coming for him for 1 year. So Barkley's interesting. I still think if he stays healthy, there's another couple of years left in him, at his peak. But there's a big question mark on that, because one good season of being healthy doesn't kind of replace all the many bad ones, just of all the different injuries he got.
And speaking of players who has had a good season but also has had bad seasons, Mike Williams, he's questionable for this week's game. It's going to be interesting. He's been a roller coaster for him this season, especially if you had him in fantasy. That whole Chargers wide receiver core. So Mike Williams, if he doesn't play, does that throw a factor in whether or not the Chargers win or not?
I don't think so, whether it's a factor. I think this game is very 50-50 between the Jags and the Chargers. It's a tough one to call, I think. If he doesn't play, I think Josh Palmer I think he had a breakout season this year. I think he's kind of slotted in that gap. Either it's for Keenan Allen when he was out, or Mike Williams. And I think he's done the job well. Austin Eckler's questionably being the RB1, in fantasy this year. He's had a great season. So I don't think he's a great talent, Williams, but I've had enough of him in fantasy. That's it. His value, I loved his value this year, but he didn't stay healthy enough to kind of give you that reward. And then he gave you a couple of bum weeks as well, where he get you 3 points, even though Keenan Allen wasn't on the field. So that was kind of annoying too. But I don't think he's definitely a miss, because he's great at these high catches and then comes down on his head and stuff like that. But I still think Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, Gerald Everett, he's been pretty good as well this season for them. Yeah. I still think they have enough weapons that they can go out and beat the Jags. I mean, in the last 6 games, the Chargers defense has also stepped up as well. They haven't been allowing half as much points as they have been in the rest of the game. So I think they definitely have a chance, but this game is a total 50-50 game for me.
Yeah, speaking of the games, let's get right into the wild card weekend. Take a look on your screen, of course. Saturdays, Sundays, and Monday game. So, of course, Saturday we got Keith's Seattle Seahawks taking on the number 2 seed 49ers. Then you got the toss-up between the Chargers and the Jaguars, which I think, in my opinion, that's the game of the night and of the day, anyways, for Saturday. No offense to your Seattle Seahawks, but I don't know how
Oh,
far they're going
no, I agree with you. I agree. That's definitely the most interesting one. I hope it's like an end-to-end game. I mean, has the potential to be high scoring.
to go. Yeah.
Two, you'd say probably up and coming quarterbacks. That we probably haven't seen the best of yet. But yeah, I mean, anybody can win that game. Like it could come down right to the end to a kick or something like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. I'm obviously looking forward to my Seahawks game, but the Chargers and Jags is going to be a better game.
Yeah, I think Chargers and Jags definitely going to be a closer game. But I'm curious, who knows? We may see Seattle upset. We don't know.
I mean, this is what I'm hoping for. Brock Purdy going in there.
Doesn't look pretty this week.
Doesn't look pretty, exactly. He's a rookie. I'm thinking he crumbles on the pressure. Like this is the first high stakes game. The rest he just had to go out and play and keep playing, just like any normal week. Now he needs to go out and think like that, but I'm hoping he doesn't. I hope he crumbles. I'm hoping somehow we can bottle up CMC because that's how you're probably going to beat the Seahawks anyways, because we're not very good at stopping the run. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping. The Seahawks, we've got nothing to lose. I mean, whether we go out and we somehow win, or we keep it tight, or they blow us out of the water, which could potentially happen, and we lose by like 20 points. But we've got nothing to lose. We're meant to be a rebuild team. We're a bunch of young guys, especially on defense. So I hope they just give it their best shot and see what happens.
Yeah, so right now for the Seattle and 49ers game, do you know who's favored? I mean, of course, we kind of know.
I think I know.
Of course, you know, and I'm sure a lot of other people do know, Seattle is not favored.
No.
The 49ers are favored. Do you know how many points they're favored by?
I don't know, 12, 15.
Wow. I didn't think it was going to be, you were going to say that, but yeah, they're favored by 10 points.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, it's kind of reasonable. And the other thing that doesn't go in our favor, it's the same for the 49ers. We're a division team. We know each other well. Pete's been around the block. I mean, hopefully we can keep it like a nice slow game and keep their offense off the field, a bit like what Washington did to Philly earlier on in the year. You know what I mean? Just run the ball through Walker, keep their offense off the field and keep the clock ticking over and see what happens. But I'm not surprised for 10 plus points. I mean, if they have aspirations of winning the Super Bowl, I think they want to be beating us by 10 plus points because there's going to be tougher opponents along the way.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I really want to root for your Seattle Seahawks. Really want to root for them. I think they've had such a good season, and the fact they made playoffs is already a winnable season, no matter what.
Oh, exactly. This game's a free.
You beat Russell Wilson's Broncos.
That's it. That's all I was hoping for when we had the first show. When we bet them on Monday Night Football and we had the show on the Tuesday, I said, that's it. I don't care if we lose every other game. I clearly hope we don't. But we beat Russell Wilson. And what's even better, the Broncos absolutely stunk this season. So, and we have their 5th pick. We got the 5th pick in the draft.
Can't go wrong with that.
And we can't go wrong. So, like, this is a win, a big win for the Seahawks this year.
Do you want them to trade up to number 1 to the Bears to get that pick?
I don't think they will. I think Geno's going to get paid, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be
from Seattle.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling they're going to keep Geno.
I can see it because of Pete Carroll.
That's it. And like Pete's, if you go back, like Pete's always been a guy that runs the ball, and you just throw when you need to. I mean, Geno can do that. You don't need a Russell Wilson. You don't need a top guy if your game is going to be run the ball. I mean, Russ got pissed at the end of his time in Seattle because we kept running the ball and it wasn't going through him enough. So if that's kind of it's Pete's mentality and always will be. It's old school football. Play defensive ball, slow the clock down on offense and run it. So I mean, you don't need one of these top guys. So I think the Seahawks will actually trade back out of the out of that 5th. Maybe they go further back in the first round, depending on what they want. Or unless they like one of these top, and there's a lot of top, edge rushers and stuff like that has been kind of branded around that the Seahawks might take at 5. But Seahawks are known for trading if they don't fancy someone that's like one of the elite guys that go ahead of them or something like that. They'll trade back. I'd be really surprised if they trade up for a quarterback. I will be really surprised.
I'd be surprised if they re-signed Geno Smith. I'd be really surprised. But in my opinion, I think if Seattle, because you guys have another pick later on in that round, I think if they fancy their quarterback towards the end of that round, towards the end of the first round, they'll go for that quarterback. And if they did pay Geno Smith, then I think that quarterback will sit under Geno for maybe 2 year contract that Geno will have.
That could be the case. That later pick might be the one where they do go quarterback. Yeah, you could be right with that one, and they just get a haul for the number 5 pick. You know what I mean? Just take a haul for that one, move back, and then get your quarterback or something like that. That would make a whole lot of sense. It depends how the board shapes up as well. You know what I mean? If it's starting getting tight, you could see maybe that pick moving up if they are going to do something like that. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm very interested in this draft. Like, there's not a whole lot of drafts I'm interested in recent years because you know what the Seahawks do. Oh, look, we've moved back. Oh, look, we've moved back. But this one's going to be very interesting.
No, I'm actually really excited, especially because there's going to be so many quarterbacks going, and like this whole quarterback frenzy in this year's draft could really shake up the league. I mean, I don't know if you've heard some rumors about obviously the Bears having number 1, and do they draft a quarterback there? And I don't know if you've heard any of these stories, but I heard that maybe they trade away Justin Fields to a different team because you're going to still get a first, maybe first and a second, first and a third for him because he's elite. And if they're intrigued on like someone like Bryce Young, who's projected to be the number 1 quarterback off the board, I mean, did they really lose much? I mean, I think both those players are really good equally.
I don't think they lose much at all, and I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that they won't do that. The only problem is you're now bringing a new rookie into a system,
to an offense that still cannot find an offense.
Yes, exactly that. But you know what I mean? Justin Fields is starting to find his feet under this new coaching staff and all that. Now you move Justin Fields out of there, you bring in, say, Bryce Young, and it's a relearning. Again, it's another one of these seasons for the Bears, and they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I'd be very surprised if they had a better season next
year. Give
Fields
to the Jets.
Huh?
Give Justin Fields. Trade Justin Fields to the Jets.
You could definitely give Justin Fields to the Jets. I mean,
that's a good trade right there.
That is a good. I mean, I think if you ask the Jets now, would they take Justin Fields? To say, oh yeah, they bite someone's hand off to take him. But it's just what they have to give up to get Justin Fields. You're probably saying 2 firsts anyways, and whatever. So
2 firsts, maybe a first and a second. I don't know.
Yeah, depends what the value is. I mean, I don't think it's too mad to think that the Bears won't go and take a quarterback. I mean, I think they've every chance to, and do what you said, trade. But to me, for the franchise moving forward, it just doesn't make sense.
I'm going to be curious to see what happens after the draft when we bring in NFL Total Access Adam Rank on the show and see what he thinks about his Bears move after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, he's going by what I've seen. He's very excited for next season. He's already said they're making the playoffs, and
he's a Bears fan.
I know he's a Bears fan. I mean, they have the number 1 pick. He's so happy
most
with Justin Fields. That's it, exactly, the most cap. But yeah, he said they're already making playoffs. I mean, I give them a better shot and make playoffs if they keep Justin Fields and either trade that pick. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe get a player that way or something. But yeah, I don't think they make the playoffs. They just trade Justin Fields and start all over again with another rookie quarterback.
I'm curious to see what these Bears are going to do. They have a lot of leverage on this draft and a lot of leverage on a lot of things.
They do, and they have the Texans to thank for that on the last game of the season.
Exactly.
So, but that's because the Texans probably knew they weren't going to take a quarterback, so that leaves the Texans wide open as well at 2.
The moral of the story is Lovie Smith wanted to leave Houston because he hated Houston, and so he wanted to win so he could get fired.
Yeah, so where'd you ever hear that? I won and I still got fired. So I was like, oh well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Let's go on to the later Saturday game. We already mentioned it a little bit. The Jaguars and Chargers. Jaguars are not favored in this, even though they're home and the 4th seed over the 5th seed Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 1.5 points. I think the Chargers, in my opinion, could win this game. But again, Trevor Lawrence has played very elite this season. Doug Peterson, I mean, he's in line for Coach of the Year, one of the top coaches. I think if this Jaguars can beat the Chargers, I'm curious to see what they can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said, total 50-50. If you made me pick, I'd lean slightly with the Jags. Anytime I'm tight on a game, I slightly go with the home team.
They're home, blue ball.
That's it, exactly. That's where I go, and especially in a playoff game, that's got to be a bit of an advantage. But Justin Herbert's been a bit up and down this year. Hasn't been as greatest. But Austin Eckler has been great. I mean, he's had a fantastic season. Keenan Allen, since he came back off the injury, looks good. So, I mean, it's going to be close. I hope it's a really high scoring game. The Jags, Lawrence has taken a step. We said it preseason. I think we said it early on in the season. He's taken that step forward now that we had to see. I mean, last year we were saying it's, the jump forward was probably too much, that we wouldn't see a big change in him, but we have the new coaching system. Doug Peterson in there just shows you how bad Urban Meyer was as well. But I like the way this team is going. I mean, Zay Jones, who'd have thought Zay Jones, Christian Kirk would have been great this season. They've had a great season. Throw in Travis Etienne and a resurgence of Evan Ingram. I mean, he was a waiver wire pickup, I think, like the last 5 weeks of the season or something for me and you.
And people never listened. They never listened.
He still stayed under 70% somehow. But so yeah, I if you had to say, like, really push me, I'm going with the Jags here. I think they can shade it maybe just by a kick.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone listening wants to drop in their comments on who their wild card weekend picks are, by all means, go for it. But the Jaguars, of course, like you see all my Patriots stuff, of course. Jaguars in the AFC are my second favorite in the AFC. So, of course, I'll be rooting for them for this year, at least for the AFC anyways. Don't see that happening. Don't see them going too far. But, I mean, you look at the last time these Jaguars made the playoffs. They beat the Bills 10-3. This is, again, with Blake Bortles. Don't forget. Blake Bortles. Not Trevor Lawrence. Blake Bortles. 10-3, they beat the Bills. Then they had a great game against the Steelers. I don't know if you watched that, Keith, but it was the 45-42 game. That was just back and forth, back and forth. And then realistically, they had a shot to make it to the Super Bowl, but they lost to the Patriots 24-20.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is a total different team than that 2018 Jaguars. And in my opinion, I think the Jaguars are better this year than those 2018 team.
I agree, but I also think that the level of talent has improved in every team, and like there's a lot more. Like your Patriots, I think there's a lot of better teams than that Patriots team now, in my opinion. But that's just the way it goes. More talented drafts, more talented players come into the league. If you put the two Jags teams against each other now, I think the Trevor Lawrence-led Jags team beats them. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. Hoping it's high scoring, two up and coming quarterbacks fighting it out there, and it's going to be really exciting to watch.
I'm so excited. I mean, I really hope this is a high scoring game. This is a game that's bound to be high scoring. But I really like this, and we're going to have the playoff picks soon, right after we go through the rest of these teams. Quickly on the Sunday though, Miami, Buffalo. Of course, we know Buffalo. It's cakewalk there. We don't really have to talk about them too much. Kind of already touched it earlier.
Yep.
13.5 point favorites. Of course, they're home. Most likely they're going to win it. I mean, I'll be shocked. Keith. Dolphins win, right?
Oh, of course, Dolphins win, right? Of course. Nah, it's Buffalo. Buffalo takes this. Buffalo takes this easy. I like you said, we touched on it earlier. There's not a whole lot. What are the builds to win in this? This must be like the line must be like 15 points.
13.5. Sorry, I guess I cut out.
You did.
13.5.
15.5. I mean, it's we don't need to say too much. It should be a Bills cakewalk. They should be able to rest their starters in the fourth quarter and move on.
Exactly. Giants Vikings. I think this is probably one of the most interesting besides the Monday night. This is my favorite game for Sunday. Giants, Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 3 points, but last time these two teams faced, the Vikings did win by 3 points. It was 27-24. I think this is a toss-up for this game.
The Giants against the frauds. If the Vikings are any use, they win this game. They're at home. Like, the only problem with the Vikings is one week they can go and score 40 points, and then the next week they can lose, and not by 40, but they concede 40 or something like that. They're all over the place. There's no consistency to it. Kevin O'Connell has really weird play calling at times. Sometimes you don't even see Justin Jefferson in the first half of games, and then all of a sudden he lights up the second half. Dalvin Cook hasn't had a great season just because, I don't know, because they're throwing to like KJ Osborne and Hawkinson and all these guys that, okay, they're fine, but you should be thrown to Thielen and Jefferson and getting Cook involved more on the ground and mix it up, and then you have Matheson coming in. So there's just for me, there's a bit of a team that's all over the place. They have all the weapons offensively. The calls are sometimes crazy what they play defensively. They're so up and down. Some weeks are great. Some weeks they just concede so many points. I think the Giants definitely took a step forward, but I think it's like not really in rebuild mode. I suppose they're not like Seattle, but I think
they're in the middle.
They're somewhere in the middle, and it's probably a step too soon. Do you know that way? That's how I feel about them. I feel like they're lacking for all the money they spend at wide receivers. They're seriously lacking talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, their defense is still in the middle there. They're again, like I'd say most years, not the best, not the worst, but they can, they're pretty solid. But if they're going to win this game, it's going to run through Saquon Barkley. We've seen what's the name?
You mean not Kenny Golladay, the star wideout from the Giants?
Definitely not him. He missed out on his bonus because he didn't catch the ball 75 times or something in the last game. So that was unlucky, Kenny. But I think they're going to rely on Slayton and is it Hodgins? And Bellinger. I mean, these guys are going to have to pull their socks up and give a good performance. I don't think it's out of the question. I think the Giants. No. This is the game out of the 3 ones where I can see kind of like the underdog win. Like I think Buffalo win easy. I know we're moving on to the Cincinnati game next. We'll talk about that. But if there's going to be a so-called upset, I think the Giants can beat them because you just don't know what Vikings team is going to turn up. Is it going to be the one that blows you out of the water, or the one that is conceding so much and kind of the game is over by halftime? So it's going to be an interesting game.
Or a team that doesn't show up in the beginning of the game and somehow makes the biggest comeback of all time.
Still wins. Yeah, I mean, but like it's great for TV, great for the neutrals when that happens. Yeah. But if you're a team actually wanting to win the Super Bowl, that can't happen because that's not going to happen every week. That happens like 1 in 100. So, I still think if the Vikings want to have any aspirations, they should be beating the Giants and beating the Giants by more than 3 points. But if I was going to plant my flag, I'm going to say the Vikings because overall, player-wise, they are way more talented than the Giants. But I would not be surprised if the Giants upset them.
Yeah, this is the game that's a toss-up for me for Sunday. Like the Saturday Jaguars-Chargers game, it's a toss-up. But curious to see, of course, as I mentioned, the Vikings are 3 points favored. Let's go to Cincinnati and Baltimore. Cincinnati at home. No Lamar Jackson, most likely. Tyler Huntley, questionable. But Cincinnati has all the weapons. I think this is also an easy pick, in my opinion, especially Tyler Huntley doesn't play. But the Bengals are 9.5-point favorites. So, Keith, thoughts on these two teams? If Lamar Jackson played, I think this game becomes a lot closer, and I think Baltimore might be able to upset this game. I don't see anything happening with Tyler Huntley.
Well, start of the season when Lamar was healthy, they bet the Bengals. But, unfortunately, he's not out there. I think if Huntley's out there, he definitely gives them a better chance than Anthony Brown. But it still won't be enough. The Bengals win. I don't know whether it'd be 9 points. I mean, I think it could be maybe that's, like I said, 9 or 10, maybe the max. I mean, I don't think.
I could see 6.
Yeah, I think like 6 or 7 is probably about it. I don't see the Bengals blowing them out. It's their division rivals. They know so much about each other. They're not that Baltimore defense has upped this game second half of the season. Cincinnati, they're well-rounded team. Good on defense, great on offense. I mean, they kind of can't really have a second half like they did last week against them. They were very slow, not really moving the ball well. But if they come out firing like they did in the first half and keep that up, I think then they'll have an easy day in the office. But Cincinnati, but I'd say maybe by 7.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. It's a game where it could be like a 30-24 final score.
I mean, I'd like that. I think that's a lot of points for the Bengals to concede against the backup, but I wouldn't mind it from a neutral.
We got a win for the Giants this weekend from Will Nebon, who is a Giants fan, of course. But let's go into the Monday game, probably the best game for Tom Brady, and to see what's going to happen for him in the playoffs. He's 7-0 against these Cowboys. 7-0. Again, Bucs are home, so they should be favored. but that's not the case. The Cowboys are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. This should be a really good game to start. But if the Dallas team that turned up last week against Washington turns up here against the Bucs, Tom Brady's going to wipe the slate with them. I mean, this is when Brady comes to us for. It just depends. I don't know if you've seen that. Mike Evans, he was ruled out pretty early last week in the game from an injury. I haven't seen anything. I presume he's going to be okay and he plays. Mike Evans could have a game like he did in week 17 where he went off for 3 touchdowns. But if Dak and that offense does turn up, well, then it's going to be a great game. The Cowboys defense has kind of slipped and slid down his way kind of in the second half of the season. It hasn't been overly great. I mean, the offense has been pretty high powered when it turns up. Tony Pollard's looked pretty good when he's been healthy. I don't know how he is now, but he's been definitely, you were on about Zeke earlier, not, it's kind of on the way out. I think Tony Pollard's definitely the guy that's going to take over there. He's going to be, if he's fit and healthy, he could have a big say in this game. But I like the Bucs in this game because it's Tom Brady in the playoffs, and you can never rule out, Brady in the playoffs. The Bucs haven't really been good. They haven't found the rhythm this season at all. They haven't been consistent. But they made it to the playoffs, and all they have to do is now just turn up and take it one game at a time. And Brady hasn't ever lost, I think, to the Cowboys in the playoffs. I think it's a 7-0 or something like that. So I would say a 3-point victory for the Bucs.
3-point victory for the Bucs. I could see that easily. I can very much see that easily. Not to mention that Tom Brady and his playoff record, I mean, of course we all want to know. He's only lost 12 times.
Of course you want to know. You're a Patriots fan. That's why, because it's all about the Patriots more or less.
35-12. One of the GOATs to ever play football. I mean, is Russell Wilson the GOAT? Could you say Russell Wilson's the GOAT?
No, but he's definitely better when he played for Seattle.
That's because Pete Carroll was there. Pete Carroll knows how to run the team.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Brady is the GOAT. I mean, it is what it is.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted you to say that.
It is what it is. I mean, like if you look at your Patriots winning team, even the last one, would you say that the Patriots have better weapons or the Bucs had better weapons now? What teams do you think? I know they had Gronk and all, but like wide receiver wise, I would say the Bucs have way more better wide receivers than the Patriots ever did. They weren't really known for that. You know what I mean? It was like just get an offensive line for Brady to keep him standing, and he can throw the ball to anyone. Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree with you on that. I completely agree with you. I think the Bucs offense. I think Brady has a better Bucs offense than a Patriots offense that he's played on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and yet he still has not that many wins, 8 and 9.
That's it. But that's kind of the scary thing if they get that offensive line right and everything right going into the playoffs, that they'll just go under the radar a little bit. Do you know what I mean? They beat Dallas, and people will kind of go. I don't think people would be too surprised just knowing one, it's Tom Brady, and two, his record against Dallas. It's when it gets to the next stage, and then he kind of goes, Brady won again. Now they're serious. Do you know what I mean? So. Exactly.
No, I'm so hyped for this game. I'm excited for this game to see. It's crazy to see that we have a Monday game for playoffs, and we've never seen that.
No. The more games, the better, though. The more games, the better.
No, yeah. I mean, but this year you could have just kept 6 teams because we didn't need Miami and we didn't need Seattle.
Yes, we needed Seattle. Don't even.
Once again, Saturday games: Seattle and San Francisco taking on each other in the first game of the playoffs. And then you get the Chargers and Jaguars. For Sunday, you get the Dolphins, Bills, Giants, Vikings, and the Ravens, Bengals. And then Monday, to cap off the wild card weekend, you got the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Now it's time to go to our playoff picks. Of course, we dabbed on all these games, but of course, we're all curious to see who everyone's pick is for this season, for the playoffs. So Keith, I'm going to start with you. You'll be picking first. We're going to use my playoff picks. That's what we're going to be using. And it'll make the bracket for us. So we'll start off. You got the Bills and Dolphins. Who are you going to go for?
I am
Dolphins, right?
Yeah, of course. No, it's the Bills.
All right. Bengals, Ravens.
Bengals and Ravens. It's Bengals.
All right. Are you going to stick with the home teams? Jaguars, Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Jags. I can't see it on the screen, by the way. I don't know if it's meant to be, but I can see it on the screen.
Oh, That's hilarious. Yeah, I think you can see it now. I'm
Oh,
guessing.
there we go. Got it. Yep. Pick
Yeah,
a winner. Buffalo.
Buffalo, Cincinnati, and of course Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Now going into the AFC divisional round, Chiefs, Jaguars take on. Who are you going with?
That's as far as the Jags go. So it's the Chiefs.
Chiefs win. This is a good game, really good game. I'm excited for this game if this ends up happening. The Bills, Bengals, who you got?
It's got to be the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm afraid.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. Anyways, who wins? The Chiefs, Bengals. Who makes it to the Super Bowl?
Mahomes still can't get a win over Joe Burrow. So the Cincinnati
No
Bengals
way.
make it back-to-back years to the Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Oh,
So
man.
Cincinnati.
Why do I have to do this?
So your Seattle Seahawks taking on the number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers. Who are we going with here?
No,
Who are we going with?
head over heart. I picked the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. It's the right thing to do. I mean,
I know.
Vikings, Giants, who you got?
Like I said earlier, it has to be the Vikings. I mean, if they have any hope of being good, it's the Vikings.
And are you sticking with the home teams here? And you got to go with the Buccaneers playing at home as well?
I'm going with Tom Brady to get a win over the Cowboys.
All right. And then this is going to be an interesting game. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This is very interesting. I would think, I mean, like I said, you can never write off Brady, but I think the Eagles will have way too much firepower. And I think the Eagles win.
All right. Eagles win this one. Curious, can Brock Purdy stay Purdy and beat the Vikings?
Yes, because the Vikings are frauds, and this is as far as they go. It's the 49ers.
And, of course, the Eagles, 49ers. Mind you, if the 49ers make it to the NFC Championship, not only have we never seen Mr. Irrelevant or a seventh-round quarterback go this far into the playoffs, he still has yet to have a loss.
I know. It's
so,
crazy.
Does history continue to make it to the Super Bowl?
So this game would be great if this happens. I think it would be such a fun, offensive game to watch. But I think the 49ers will learn from what Washington did to Philly in the regular season, and they will keep them off the field by running the ball a lot with CMC, and I see a 49ers win.
Wow, 49ers win. So that means the big game, the Super Bowl, the number 3 seed taking on the number 2 seed, the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers. Does the Bengals finally get their win that they deserve, or does Brock Purdy do something that no quarterback, no Mr. Irrelevant has ever done, no seventh-round quarterback, no quarterback like his name to ever do it and win the Super Bowl?
So Brock Purdy has had a great season since coming in, but it's one game too far, and the Cincinnati Bengals finally win the Super Bowl.
So that's a wrap, of course. I like it. It's definitely not as the same as mine. Definitely not going to be the same as mine for sure.
That's good.
But
it'd be no fun if it was the same.
Huh?
It'd be no fun if it was the same.
Yeah, of course. It would be no fun. Now, my question to you is there any bias on picking the Bengals?
No. Just because I got a hat over here and Katie supports them. No, there's not. I think they're the most well-rounded team at the moment. I think they're very good defensively. I think they're great offensively. I mean, you know what I mean? They can win through the air, they can win on the ground. You can count for a turnover, you know what I mean? I just think they're the most well-rounded team right now. And I think the second, out of all the teams, the next best is the 49ers. I think they're great on defense. I think they're great on offense, but Brock Purdy is the quarterback, and I just think it'd be one game too far for him. So that's my reasoning for picking the Bengals. And, the Bengals window to win the Super Bowl is, now and probably maybe a couple of years before everything starts kind of rocking and rolling with them. Maybe it's only 1 or 2 years because they could, I think from I think actually now they could actually, talk to Burrow and start getting him a deal done.
Yeah.
And T. Higgins and all that. So I don't think they're going to be able to keep a lot of that core together. I don't know if you're not going to be able to pay Burrow, Higgins, and then it's going to be Chase not too long after. So, I mean, their time is probably now and maybe next year. So I think that's why I'm picking the Bengals to win.
I love the pick. I'm going to drop in. There's got to be at least a 1% bias on that pick. But anyway,
Hey,
I
didn't pick Seahawks. I could have just said Seahawks all the way, even though I know they're not going to win, but I could have picked them.
Who knows? Maybe I'm going to pick Seattle. I'm not even a Seattle fan. We haven't done my playoff picks yet. I could still pick them. You never know.
Well, let's see.
Let's see, indeed, of course. So Keith, of course, picked the Bengals to win. I'll start with mine. Of course, I got to go with the Bills. It's cakewalk. I'm going to stick with the home team.
Oh, we're going home teams. We're changing up now. Is this where you go, Chargers?
I got to go with the Jaguars still.
Your second team. Of course you have to.
Oh, of course it is. And you know what? I think the Jaguars have a really good chance to beat the Chiefs here.
Oh, really? This is a big show.
I wish I could say that, but I can't. I got to go with the Chiefs. Chiefs are dominant. I mean, Patrick Mahomes dominating without Tyreek Hill. He's amazing.
He's had a great season. He's had a great season, and it's kind of gone in under the radar a little bit about him being MVP because you've had Josh Allen play so well, and you have Jalen Hurts is probably the favorite. But I think Mahomes has got a great show as well.
For a team that has no receiving core, really, it's just Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I give Mahomes a lot of credit, and the question that I wonder is, he's obviously, we know how good he is. He's amazing. He's made it to the Super Bowl, what, 2 or 3 times already?
Mm-hmm.
He's only won one ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's it. So can he reach Tom Brady's 7? I don't know.
I think the talent. I mean, as a talent himself, he's he definitely can, but it's all about the team around him. But the talent of the other teams and the other quarterbacks, I think that's what's going to stop him.
Exactly, and that's the question, what's going to happen. I mean, we saw the Bengals, of course, almost win last year, so I'm curious. But the Bills, going back to the Bills-Bengals game, this is where we are different because I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills, even though I don't want to because they're in the AFC East. I'm going to go with the Bills. Who goes to the Super Bowl?
That's another big
1
game.
seed versus the 2nd seed. I really do believe that's a Cinderella season that's just calling its name.
Oh, so it's the Bills.
Yeah, it's the Bills.
Pick the green team.
So, do I want to go with this really cool green team?
Green's better than red.
You really want me to go Seattle?
I didn't pick Seattle, so it doesn't matter.
You just want that one person to have some hope in Seattle.
I have hope, but it's, I'm not putting my money on that hope.
Hope for next season, maybe.
Yeah.
49ers win. Brock Purdy stays Purdy in his records. I still don't really know where to go with this because I did my playoff rankings and I made the Giants 13th in my rankings. Okay. And the Ravens were ahead of them, but I made the rankings before Lamar Jackson was basically ruled out. I don't see the Giants really going up too far because, Brian Daboll, most likely coach of the year in my opinion. There's no receivers. There's nothing. So I don't see them going so far without receivers. I just don't see it. And I could say that if it was a Tom Brady, but there is no Tom Brady.
No, it's Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
He's had his best season, but still, it's Daniel Jones.
Exactly. So as much as I really want to go with the Giants, who I think is probably the best team to upset a team this weekend, I got to go with the Vikings here.
Yep.
Another toss-up here, but like you said, Keith, Cowboys, they're good, but they've choked the last month, and I mean, Buccaneers and Tom Brady, who's really good in the playoffs, 35-12, he's gonna go 36-12 right there. This is my hardest one, and I think you were also stuck on this for a little bit too.
Yeah, I was.
I so really want to go with the Buccaneers. I don't think they can get past the Eagles. I really don't see them getting past the Eagles.
I was like
So
that too. I was like, that's Tom Brady. The Bucks are pretty good, but yeah, the Eagles have too much firepower, I think.
if the Buccaneers play like they did against the Panthers in Week 17, then I think there's some hope in them.
Yep.
I think they can beat the Eagles. But if they play like they really have been playing this season on average, I don't see them beating the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is where we get to the fraudulent Vikings.
Exactly. Bye.
San Francisco wins easily.
Here's a tough one.
I'm such a big. Last year I was rooting for Derek Carr, and of course I was a big Hunter Renfro fan in the fantasy. I'm a big Purdy fan, and I got to go with the Purdy Nation.
Oh, so here we go. So at least we got one the same.
Yeah, we have one the same. The Buffalo Bills and San Francisco 49ers. Of course, my pick that I was debating about. Of course, I haven't posted on social media yet, but I've at one point my first pick was the 49ers because of just how well this season has gone for them. But then the next time I picked the Bills. So now we're back in this predicament.
Will I have a drum roll for you so you can like build it up?
I gotta go with. I think it's time to call it. I called it earlier this season who would win the Super Bowl, and I'm gonna stick with my gut, and it's the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. So we both went on the AFC anyway.
Yeah, I think the Bills. They're more of a playoff team than the 49ers because of the experience, in my opinion. I think with Brock Purdy not having the experience, Christian McCaffrey not really having any experience there either, it's going to be hard to really see this team really come together and face the Seattle Seahawks, cakewalk there, face the Vikings who could be whatever shows up, and then you go to face the Eagles. The Eagles are really hard, and I think they're going to just slightly win. They could beat them like the Packers, like they did with the Packers by a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they just can't beat the Bills.
It's a good prediction. I like how it worked out. I mean, the Bills were the favorite at the start, and going by your prediction, they're rightly so favorites. So yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah, I really hope the Bills do win it because I think this is the type of season that I think you just can't vote out the Bills in this predicament.
No, and what everything happened will happen as well. Like we said,
Exactly.
They have more reason to want to go win now as well.
Real quick, between all these teams, and I'll bring back the bug as well. I mean, based on all these teams, and of course the Chiefs and the what am I drawing a blank? Eagles. Sorry, who cares about the Eagles? Obviously, they don't matter because they're the number one seed. But just quickly name two teams, maybe one from either side, or just doesn't matter. Lower seed teams. Who goes to the farthest? Who has the chance to go to the farthest?
Of lower seed teams?
Yeah.
So you're saying Seattle,
I'm
Miami,
saying like maybe
Jags,
non-division winners, maybe. I mean, I could add the fourth seed if you'd like.
No, it's just a tough one with the bottom ones because I don't see them winning. I mean, I say that the Jags, if you think they could cause an upset against the Chiefs and play it out that way, maybe they've got the best shot.
Okay.
I'd like to think us if we beat the 49ers. Because if we beat say we beat the 49ers, see we go on to play the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
No, you go on to face the Eagles because you're the highest seed.
Oh, we go the Eagles. Yeah, don't fancy us against that. I mean, if I fancy us against the Vikings, but I mean, yeah, I think Jags maybe if you think they're gonna upset the Chiefs out of the lower seed teams. The Giants, like we said, could be the underdogs and go and beat, but I don't think they go much further than that. They're not well rounded enough, and they're not, like you said, they haven't really got any wide receivers. It's all going to be Saquon, and if he goes down,
yeah,
then they got nothing really. So yeah, I'll say the Jags.
I think I'm going to go with something similar with yours, but instead of the Seattle Seahawks, because I know there must be some bias in there, I got to go with the Giants. I mean, if they do somehow beat these Vikings, you can go to say that these Vikings, one, yeah, they're frauds, but two, the Giants, they've been able to beat some decent teams. It's whether or not they can go far. They would go on to face the Eagles, and again, don't fancy them against the Eagles, just like the Seahawks. But it's a team that has a chance. You can never count them out. And not to mention, it is a division game.
Yeah. Look, if we look at them now, right, and we say San Fran and then Jags, Chargers toss up, right, whatever. Then Buffalo, Minnesota, Cincinnati, and then we're saying the Bucks. I'd be very surprised if all them win. There's usually some sort of shock in them games, like one of them. You know what I mean? Whether it's Seattle, whether it's the Giants, maybe it's even like Dallas. That wouldn't really be a shock, but we're talking about the ones we picked, right? So, you know what I mean?
Maybe the Dolphins.
Something's going to screw it up. I think I would be very surprised if we got a clean slate where we pick them all, and then I'm kind of saying I think we're both kind of leaning more Jags or whatever, you know what I mean? But there's not much in that game, so
I think whoever wins that game, in my opinion, I said the Giants for the NFC. For the AFC, I think it's whoever wins that game. That's the game that can go the farthest. That's the team that can go the farthest from the lower seeds.
Yep.
So, but before we end off the show, we got to do our quick little fantasy playoff draft. Of course, Keith, since I think did you win any of your fantasy leagues this year?
Yeah, I did win, but I don't think any of the ones I was in. I won like a league I was in here in Toronto. I won one of our leagues. The Twitter or Madden League.
Twitter League.
I was the winner.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I won a couple of leagues, which is not too bad, and got some. I was placed in a few other leagues and stuff like that. So yeah.
So of course, since you obviously went farther than me in that, I will give you the first overall pick. But basically, how this is going to play out is Keith and I will be doing our fantasy draft, and we will have about seven or eight, unless I can't count. Probably can't count. I think 8 though. We'll have one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, a tight end, running back, wide receiver, flex, and then a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, super flex position. Cool. Now, all the players on the left of that screen, they're all the players that are draftable, but some of them are not because, of course, the Chiefs and Eagles. But these are all players that are in the playoffs. The rule is Keith and I cannot pick the same player. We cannot pick the same player every week. So say, for instance, I pick Justin Jefferson. He can't pick Justin Jefferson this week. But if the Vikings do win, for the rest of the playoffs, I cannot play Justin Jefferson. So Keith has free reign on Justin Jefferson whenever he wants. And if he thinks the Vikings will go to the Super Bowl, he could put them in the Super Bowl and wait for Justin Jefferson to play.
Just wait all the way.
Yeah, we can wait all the way. So that's going to be how it's going to go. I give Keith the first pick because he finished better than me in one of our leagues. So Keith, with the first overall pick in the 2023 playoff fantasy draft, who are you selecting?
Okay, so I'll hit running back first, and I think the Jags are gonna win. So that means I am picking Austin Eckler at running back.
All right.
That means really he'll be toast after that, but hopefully he does well for me.
That's a really good one. I like that a lot. It's a good one.
Where are you going?
I don't know where I want to go with this. I want to go with I'm going to go with quarterback here. And the reason why I'm going to go quarterback is because it is super flex. I'm going to go with Geno Smith.
Oh, you go my boy Geno.
Yeah, I think Geno's going to have a good game. I think he's going to not win.
So I'm going to hit running back again. And I think another guy that will be gone after this week, but I think he stand out is Saquon Barkley. So I will pair up Austin Eckler and Saquon Barkley.
He would have been my next pick. So good snipe on that.
Well, thank you.
I'm upset because I really was going to go there, but I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill.
Good pick. I like that. He was going to be on my radar for later on. I think if someone is going to do well out of probably maybe if Hill's actually fit, didn't he have an ankle issue or something? But if I had to pick over him and Waddle, I think I'd pick Hill this week.
Okay. I wanted to go with. I was thinking about going with Tyreek and Waddle duo, but I think with Skylar Thompson as quarterback, you just can't trust it.
No, you can't. You're right there. You are right. I will lean on quarterback now. I think we've got way more options on wide receivers. So I will go with Dak Prescott because, again, I think the Bucs will win.
That's a really good one. That's a good one. He would have been my super flex pick.
Just keep sniping you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot. I mean,
if they get through, I don't have these guys next week, so.
Yeah, but what's the odds? The only one that I can think of is Austin Eckler and Barkley, but again, those are toss-ups that could just end up going the other way.
It could go either way, so we'll see.
I'm gonna go with, because I think it could be a toss-up, I'm gonna go with Dalvin Cook for my running back.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
Because you can't trust. I don't know how much I trust Dalvin Cook. This is the first time I have him in this year's playoffs, this year's draft, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the first time I ever picked Dalvin Cook this year.
Yeah, I don't think I have any shares of Dalvin Cook. I think we knew how it was going to go, right? They were going to be more throw heavy, then give it off, and it's kind of the way it worked. They haven't really got him into the game a lot. But sorry, I'm just going down here looking at wide receivers that are on the list here. Did you not put Jamar Chase here? I'm not picking Jamar Chase, but I was like, do you not have Jamar Chase?
He's second.
Oh, yes, my bad.
I couldn't find Tyreek Hill myself when I was trying to look through this, and I was like, wait a minute, did I not put him? But no, he's number 2.
I will take Mr. DK Metcalf.
It's a good pick. Because obviously, I want these players that you're picking because I think those teams are going to lose. But
yeah,
you're killing me here. You're killing me. All right. Well, I guess back over to the drawing board. I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins, he's shown up that he can be interesting of a fantasy player, and I think they're going to have to run the ball in this game.
Yep, it's not a bad pick. I think you're right. I think if they want to slow the Bengals offense down and play better ball in defense, I think that's going to have to go through the run game. So yeah, it's a good pick. Back to me.
David in the chat, Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl champs.
The Bills are the Super Bowl champs. They got a great chance, all right. I am going to go with Justin Herbert as my super flex.
Thank goodness. I accidentally drafted someone that was supposed to be next round. So I'm glad you didn't draft this guy.
So who are you going for?
Mr. Kenny Walker.
Oh, nice. That's a good pick.
I mean, he's wide open. I mean, he's good, you know?
That's a good pick. I like the pick. Let me see. I'm just taking a look through here what I got. It's going to look like I'm the biggest Charger fan going.
Well, that just means that you think the Chargers are clearly not going to win.
Yeah, but I think that game's going to be a toss-up. But I'm just slightly leaning with the Jags. Maybe anything.
The worst part is if it is a toss-up and the Chargers do win, and you end up picking Keenan Allen as well.
Well, that's what I was looking at. Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I think you pick Mike Williams
from his hospital bed or his sick bed or wherever he is. It's getting tough now. It's getting tough.
It's so hard.
User too good. Okay, I'll take a stab in the dark here. Maybe they'll get knocked out. I want them to win, but who knows? I hope he's healthy. I'm gonna go Mike Evans. If he's ruled, if they make it through, I'm not gonna kick myself too much about not being having to play Mike Evans.
Okay, I understand that. So you got tight end and flex position left. I've got all these. I'm going to wait for the quarterback until the end because you're not going to take another quarterback anytime soon. So
nope.
I'm going to just go with tight end here. And I'm going to go with my tight end that I've loved all season.
Evan Ingram?
It's Mr. Evan Ingram, of course.
Got it.
The reason why is, of course, next week we have tight ends as well.
Exactly. We only have to pick one, so you can fit, unless you really want to play him in flex, but I don't really think you want to. I'll take Noah Fant as my tight end.
Really, Noah Fant?
Let's take Noah Fant. So
What made
Gino,
you?
I'm actually a big fan of him. I mean, and Gino likes to throw to the position, just that they mix it up a bit in Seattle with. I know Disley's out for the season, but there's Parkinson down too. But Fant's been pretty good. The end of the season, so yeah, I'm gonna go no Fant.
Okay. I got David coming in. When do we do Q&A? Well, you can ask questions all you want. If you think the Bills are going to be eliminated the first round to the Dolphins, I mean, you could think that too.
Yep.
But you could ask that. But all right, no fan. So I'm going to go with this player. And I think it's very risky for me, but the reason why is the matchup. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson.
You're picking, so you are picking JJ and never going to play him again, or hope that the Giants win?
So I think the Giants will not win. I still think the Vikings win. But I think that based on the matchup, Jefferson has a better matchup between the Giants than, of course, the Eagles. I mean, you take a look at the Giants. When he faced the Giants, 12 receptions, 133 yards.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong, exactly. Can't go wrong. Nope. I like
And I mean, when he faced the Eagles, 6 receptions, 48 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Are you surprised on that pick?
I was surprised. I thought you wouldn't. I thought we'd be left there. So now I'm like, do I go Jamar Chase? Now I know who I'm taking as my flex. I'm not
were you going to go with JJ?
No, I wasn't at all. No, I was like, I was going to go Jamar Chase now, just to mess. But I'm not. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Zay Jones. Zay Jones, my flex.
Zay
Jones.
Zay. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure about Zay. He's had a great season. And again, this game's a toss-up, and I don't want to have any more Keenan Allens or anyone else, just in case I can't pick them next week. So we go with Zay Jones.
Okay, interesting. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so my super flex, obviously, I'm going to go with a quarterback here. Should I go with Lamar Jackson or Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, go for it. I think Lamar be great.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's good.
I'm on the fence really with 4 quarterbacks. It's Brady, Cousins, Lawrence, and Daniel Jones.
I was thinking Brady. That's where
I want to go with Brady, but it's a scramble, and then Trevor Lawrence, but then he can toss up duds. Same with Kirk Cousins. Same with Daniel Jones. I'm just gonna go with my gut. I think you went with a bunch of Chargers, and it was a toss up for there. That means I'm gonna just go with Kirk and go with my cousin here. Cousin.
You're going with your cousin, and you're gonna get the stack there with JJ. So that's nice.
JJ, Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're the Vikings guy. I'm the Chargers guy. What are you gonna do?
You should have went with Gerald Everett while you're at it.
Well, I know. Might as well just add it all in.
Quick question before we end off: Do we want to pick a bench player in case any of these players end up going out? Obviously, it's very unlikely, but if there is a bench player that we do draft, then that player you can still play him in the following weeks.
Well, okay. I'm dodgy about Mike Evans because I don't know where he plays, so I'll just take a wide receiver if you want, and if you want to do the same about if you're dodgy about anybody on your team.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Whatever position you want. I will have on my bench. Let me see who I want on my bench. Jalen Waddle just keeps jumping out at me. I'll have Jalen Waddle on my bench. I don't know why. Every time my eyes get distracted back on him. So.
All right, I like it. I think I'm going to go with for some reason I think Gabe Davis is out there, so I'm going to go with Gabe Davis.
It's a nice pick. I mean, he's one of them guys who obviously the Bills are going to go through, but I don't think you're going to miss him that much next week. So I think it's a pretty good pick.
Exactly. This is most likely to replace. I'm guessing probably Tyreek Hill.
I think he has that ankle injury. I'm sure he'll probably play, but just in case.
Yeah. So of course these are our picks. Of course, Geno Smith, Dalvin Cook, J.K. Dobbins, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Evan Ingram, and Ken Walker and Kirk Cousins are my starters with a bench player of Gabe Davis. Keith's picks: Dak Prescott, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, Zay Jones. Can't forget Noah Fant and Justin Herbert to solidify his starters, and Jalen Waddle on his bench.
Happy enough. Happy enough.
Might be just enough. But that's gonna do it here. It's been a long one, but that's gonna do it. It's definitely been a good one. Again, you're listening to Sports Time HQ. Who's this guy? You may ask. Well, he's my co-host Keith, Mr. Keith. You can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90, and make sure to follow him and his fiance on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. And again, if you don't use Underdog Fantasy, which if you're not, there's a problem, because you might as well just go to the App Store or Google Play, whatever you prefer. Use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So you might as well go start betting. Get a free $100 if you put in $100, but make sure to bet smartly and don't get your bank account to go to zero or negatives. So bet smartly. Once again, my name is Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We'll be having another podcast next week to really cap off what happened this weekend, wildcard weekend. But also be sure to look out on social media, as we are now affiliated with Trophy Smack. So if you want to get anything from Trophy Smack, we'll be sending out a link shortly in the upcoming days where you can click on that link and you'll be able to buy something using our code and get some good Trophy Smack merch. Is that right?
Smirch?
Wow, that's a tongue. That's a tongue twister for me. But yeah, you can get some belts, rings, trophies, brag to your teammates that you won. But once again, go get Keith, go follow him all over social media. And of course, my name is Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We'll see you all next week. Good luck in your wildcard weekend.